One Zambia, One Nation. Good evening. Welcome to the news at 19 hours on TV1. My name is Chilufya Mwelwa, and on sign language tonight is Obed Mambwe. A quick run through the headlines this hour. President Edgar Lungu assures the nation that the invocation of Article 31 of the Constitution to deal with the security situation is not aimed at harassing people or disrupting normal operations in the country. Constitutional lawyer John Sangwa says President Edgar Lungu has acted within the law by invoking Article 31 of the Constitution. Engineers from the Zambia Army and Lusaka City Council have moved on site at Lusaka City Market to assess the extent of the damage caused by the fire. And Minister of Health Chitalu Chilufya says government has no intentions to legalize the cultivation of marijuana in the country. Details in our news this evening. President Edgar Lungu has assured the nation that the invocation of Article 31 of the Constitution to deal with the security situation is not aimed at harassing people or disrupting normal operations in the country. The president says the measures are meant to help maintain law and order and safeguard national security. President Lungu says the measures are timely in the wake of the building cases of politically orchestrated terror and lawlessness. Addressing the press at State House this afternoon, President Lungu dismissed assertions that Zambia is under a dictatorship and maintained that the country remains a model of democracy in Africa and beyond. He has urged Zambians to remain patriotic and defend the country's good democratic reputation. And President Lungu has disclosed that there are calculated schemes to use violence and terror to force the government into talks for a possible power-sharing arrangement with the opposition. The president says there is no room for a power-sharing system under the Zambian constitution. Michael Kaumba reports.
Following these sad events, my government has decided to invoke Article 31.
After announcing to the nation that he had invoked Article 31 of the Constitution to deal with the security situation in the country on Wednesday night, President Edgar Lungu has held a press conference at State House. The president used his engagement with the media to explain the motive behind his decision, saying it is timely in the wake of the rising cases of premeditated sabotage and arson acts.
And we are going to make regulations following that power, which will regulate certain conduct of people's behavior. And that power is very extensive. But I want to assure the Republic that the invocation of that power was not meant to harass people or perceived opponents in the political arena, but it's to curb the ever-growing lawlessness which we have seen in the recent past. Similarly, we cannot make blanket regulations to cover movement of people. People are free to walk about, entertain themselves. Those who want to do overnight prayer meetings can go on. Those who want to...
During his date with the media, President Lungu disclosed that there are schemes being hatched by forces within and outside the country to use violence to compel the government into power-sharing talks.
These are rich people who once held the commanding heights of the economy in these countries. They've ganged up. And they're busy using advocacy to champion certain interest groups in Zambia, for example, so that they can have a regime change. This we've made very clear, we've known for a long time. So they have hired think tanks, so-called, to speak ill of Zambia, to speak ill of Zimbabwe, to speak ill of South Africa, to speak ill of Kenya. But what is happening in Zambia is a systematic approach by the opposition to stampede us into talks which will culminate into us revisiting the results of the electoral process, to say, no, let's do power sharing arrangement. I'm afraid we can't do that because winner takes all. The Zambian electoral process provides for winner takes all.
And when asked if he was concerned that his move to invoke Article 31 will scare away donors and investors, President Lungu said he's not ready to sacrifice Zambians for economic expediency.
It's a personal decision. If you're lending money to somebody and you know he won't pay back the money, you don't lend him the money. So those people who want to invest in Zambia should have confidence in our system. And I think that's a normal thing to do. But I'm sure, in answer to your question, people should do due diligence on Zambia, as much as they are reading stories about Zambia having gone astray in terms of good governance.
The president also dismissed assertions by some sections of society that Zambia is sliding into dictatorship under his watch.
Diplomats from other Western world countries, to just ask them that what do you see in Zambia which gives you the impression that I'm a dictator? But the best I can tell you is judge for yourself. You're an accomplished media practitioner. Do we have a dictator in State House? Have things fallen apart in this country? It's the power of the pen. And as they say, falsehood has got fast legs, it runs faster, it goes around the world before the truth is finishing off with tying its shoelaces to begin running.
The president also urged Zambians to remain patriotic and defend the country's good democratic credentials. Michael Kaumba, ZNBC News at State House.
Now, constitutional lawyer John Sangwa says President Edgar Lungu has acted within the law by invoking Article 31 of the Constitution to deal with the security situation in the country. State Counsel Sangwa says the decision is purely dependent on the president's judgment in his quest to contain the current situation. He has explained that what is important now is for the president to publicize regulations that he is going to put in place to prevent the situation from escalating. Mr. Sangwa said this in an interview with ZNBC News in Lusaka today. He added that there is no need for anxiety because the situation can only last for a period of a maximum 90 days, depending on the approval of the National Assembly. Mr. Sangwa has since advised Zambians to ensure the country remains the beacon of peace by painting the correct picture locally and abroad.
Whereas under Article 31, it is a situation which is not so serious, which he can make that declaration in his own right. Now, the implication of that is once you make a declaration under the provisions of Article 30, then the president assumes powers under the Preservation of Public Security Act, which is an act of parliament which gives power to the president to issue regulations. And the regulations that he may issue are those that he considers necessary to address the situation that he has perceived exists in Zambia. Whereas if there is a declaration of emergency under Article, there's a declaration under Article 30, it kicks in the provision of the Emergency Powers Act. These are two separate pieces of legislation which come into force depending upon what is declared. Now, what will be of interest for the country, I think, is to wait and see what kind of regulations the president is going to issue in exercise of his powers under the Preservation of Public Security Act. Because every situation is different and every president has his own judgment. So in the case of President Lungu, we're yet to see what kind of measures he's going to put in place, which in his opinion will be necessary to address the situation that he has perceived.
And the National Union of Public and Private Educators of Zambia has hailed President Edgar Lungu for invoking Article 31 of the Constitution. NUPE's President Victor Muyumba says the move is timely in the wake of some acts of sabotage. Mr. Muyumba says it is commendable that the President has taken measures to maintain law and order and preserve property and life. He says President Lungu's decision is progressive and that it should be respected and supported by all patriotic Zambians. Mr. Muyumba was speaking at a media briefing in Lusaka today. Meanwhile, the NUPES president said the union sympathizes with Zambians, including teachers who have lost their property in fires that have characterized the country in the recent past. And Zambian DNA spokesperson Spooky Mulemwa says recent acts of lawlessness have robbed many people of their incomes. Mr. Mulemwa has since urged members of parliament to rise to the occasion by supporting the president's action.
A simple, basic understanding of the law is that yesterday the president did not, for example, declare a state of emergency. All he did was to give more powers to the police officers to do their job. For example, they can conduct a search on me without any search warrant. They can stop me anywhere on the road and check or search my car without any search warrant. And I think this has been stated as a result of what has been happening, so to say. These unexplained fires, these strange fires, I think are a source of concern to each and every normal human being. And we therefore call upon the people that are conducting the investigations to expedite investigations so that we know the causes. And I think
now, traders affected by the city market inferno have called for quick rehabilitation of the trading facility to enable them resume business. And Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit DMMU Regional Coordinator Titus Ngandu says the process of quantifying the property lost has started. Ruth Mwale has the details in this report.
These are some of the affected traders from Lusaka City Market, which was gutted in the early hours of Tuesday. They gathered at the Lusaka City Council to avail information to the local authority and the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, who want to establish the value of property lost in the fire. Catherine Musonda is among the traders affected by the fire that swept through the market.
My items was worth 120. If I count stationary things without florist flowers, put to unbox charcoal outside the market, to unbox charcoal trade, ukush charcoal from because now they are crying.
The affected traders can't get over the loss suffered and want help from the government and well-wishers.
Ndafuma kunganda na mkubomba nomba market na ipya na lata ntika kuisa mu street tapata pana lata ntika fira fintu fense na fipya ni bana na balanja fuilishako.
But as at now, since now the market is bent, where to start from we don't know, because now these who are in college, I just don't know where you can go to ask for money, and no relatives. You can go to a relative, he has got his own problems also. You can't just depend on someone. And how to repay that loan, I don't know. So now if only the government will look into our plea, maybe, I don't know if they do refund or they say it's okay, I don't know.
The Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU, has assured the affected traders that they will be helped.
We have begun the process of capturing the information to establish the loss, okay? Now what we have done is that we have developed a tool, a questionnaire, to capture that information so that we get to understand the quantities that have been lost and the estimated value of what has been lost.
For now, these traders have no source of income and await assistance from various stakeholders. Ruth Mwale, ZNBC News, Lusaka.
And engineers from the Zambia Army and Lusaka City Council have moved on site at the Lusaka City Market to assess the extent of the damage caused by the fire. A ZNBC News crew that checked at the market found the engineers assessing the damage. And the affected traders have continued visiting the market, hoping to be addressed by relevant authorities. Here's a report.
Lusaka City Market Inferno have continued visiting the market. They stand outside the market watching the experts doing their work as they have been told not to go inside. The market has remained barricaded until further notice. But for those whose stores were spared in Tuesday's fire, want the authorities to allow them to start trading as the damaged part is being worked on.
pantu ifo side yesu itayapile batu ibile fiefinto so turemba kubuteko kwa timbala tupera kwa insta kutifo tampi okubombe ntwale bombo panda bale fatulesta pana pandi mino kufuma kunganda shwete pana nguchima kunganda njishire fino fondishi nabane fyo mbashira
samenti ni nambali yamene sinapi ati ganizirako bwanji timvereko chapi otherwise side kwatu kamesi kunapi vintu vinasira chekubelewa sevene bake tinasara tilibe nangu kamosi.
Meanwhile, a team of engineers from Zambia Army and the Lusaka City Council are here to ascertain the extent of damage which was caused by the fire which gutted the Lusaka City market. And the affected traders have also appealed to relevant authorities to intensify patrols in markets in Lusaka.
Babele vichitika muziko mwatu Mzambia siviwamu kuyambira che city market kupya kwa city market miliro zose zamene zichitika mu country mwatu siviwamu so bametipe mpako chabe pankale proper security yamene zamba kuona vonse bamevichitika.
Hii city market ni market ikulu maningi mno Mzambia. Hii market ifunika inkanela security yakuti notativika bweze pofuti because yamene chachitika pa ini big disaster na ndrama zamene zaenda pa Nzambiri na mafamili zamene yafutika pa ni yambiri ukwamene kunapi oko barusa makatundu yambiri na kwamene ukusukunapi na kwa barusa makatundu.
The traders' hope is that someone somewhere will help provide their initial steps back to recovery. Lucky Piri, TV2 News, Lusaka.
And the Bankers Association of Zambia, BAZ, has pledged to contribute 100,000 kwacha towards reconstruction of Lusaka City Market. This has been revealed today when President Edgar Lungu met with 18 chief executive officers of the commercial banks operating in the country. Meanwhile, President Lungu has assured commercial banks in the country that security measures put in place will not affect their operations. Here's a report.
The meeting could not have come at a better time, an assurance to players in the economic sector. President Edgar Lungu has met 18 commercial bank chief executive officers and members of the Bankers Association of Zambia at State House. The message is clear that their investment is safe and no need to panic.
They say the elephant in the room is the proclamation of a state of emergency. I want to assure you that it will not impact on you in any way at all, whatsoever. I think it will affect those criminal elements who are trying to destabilize the peace in the nation. And we'll make sure that the measures which we'll put in place following the proclamation, once it's approved by Parliament, are to protect your interests as much as we protect the interests of the common man, your customers, and so on. Those who have been following the reasons why I called for that proclamation will agree with me that things have been slowly getting out of hand. We want to maintain Zambia as a secure, conducive and peaceful environment which business can thrive.
During the meeting, the head of state also raised other pertinent issues, such as the high interest rates despite stable foreign exchange rates.
Why lending rates are so high in Zambia, particularly to small-scale businessmen, SMEs and individual customers. I also want to find out why the current average lending rates for industry, which is approximately 7%, looks too high to me to support private sector growth. And also lending to corporate customers, particularly multinational corporations, look very supportive. So I think these are things which concern me and my electorate and my shareholders. So we are saying there are a lot of things we can do to help.
But one thing keeps ringing a bell: the continued and systematic touching of markets and various public infrastructure is of concern to the banks.
Express our concern as well on the fact that the city market paying that is more TS effort by the sun that these are customers we have our branches in the market and service and so challenge that how we are share with the say these are also small market here, small business people who have support. And in this regard, there's the Bankers Association of the banks would like to pledge 100,000 kwacha to help these marketers to help government build the market as a contribution to support that.
The meeting was attended by Finance Minister Felix Mutati, Presidential Affairs Minister Freedom Skazwe, Secretary to the Treasury Fredson Nyamba, Deputy Secretary to Cabinet Christopher Mvunga, and Special Assistant for Legal Sukwana Lukangaba. With such interactions, the business community is assured that all measures are aimed to protect the citizens and investments. Mwilan Sofu, TVT News in Lusaka.
5 houses have been set ablaze by an unknown person at Yenga and Chitondo villages in Chelenge district. The incident, which occurred around 23 hours last night, has destroyed goods and left 5 families homeless. And in Chelenge district, Commissioner Derek Mwelwa, who visited the scene, described the turn of events as unfortunate. Mr. Mwelwa says lawlessness will not be entertained. He has advised the affected families not to take the law into their own hands, but allow the police to do their job. And one of the victims, Joyce Mwansa, has described the person behind the burning of the houses as merciless. She has since appealed to the government for financial support to help her build another house. Police in the area have since instituted investigations into the matter, and no arrests have been made. President Edgar Lungu is tomorrow expected in Ndola to commission a copper cable manufacturing plant in Masaiti district. The president is also scheduled to unveil the foundation for the construction of the $528 million ZCCMIH cement plant. President Lungu will also commission the reconstruction of the Ndola Mufulira Road. This is according to a statement made available to ZNBC News by Special Assistant to the President for Press and Public Relations, Amos Chanda. Meanwhile, Copperbelt's Permanent Secretary, Elias Kamanga, says the increased number of development projects on the Copperbelt province will spur development and create the much-needed jobs. Speaking ahead of President Lungu's tour of duty to the Copperbelt tomorrow, Mr. Kamanga said the over 4,000 jobs which will be created will go a long way in improving people's lives. Here's a report.
These are final touches being done at the site where the $528 million United States dollar cement plant will be constructed in Ndola. The Zambia Consolidated Copper Mines Investment Holdings, ZCCMIH, is embarking on this project to bring competitiveness in the construction sector. President Edgar Lungu is tomorrow morning expected to break the ground for the project.
With this kind of investment on the Copper Belt, it is more than certain that the economy of the Copper Belt will rebound in the very short period. Because obviously this means more job opportunities for people, more business opportunities for the contractors, who get subcontracting, the 20% subcontracting.
The Ndola cement plant is expected to create over 1,000 jobs in the construction phase and 4,000 more once fully operational. According to ZCCMIA Chief Executive Officer Pius Kasoro, the cement plant will also be producing thermal power, which will be added to the national grid.
The plant will have a standalone thermal power station, okay, which will be generating about 40-45 megawatts. Then on top of that, we're going to have what I call a heat exchange. When you are burning coal, we get also the heat exchange when you are making cement. That will add up to about 7 megawatts. So we think about using 23 and hopefully about 27, we'll be able to put it in the grid, and that can help Ndola with electricity so that you know that we have a stable energy production.
President Lungu will also commissioned a copper cable manufacturing plant in the same area. The plant is owned by Newcant Cables Limited. For the business community in Ndola, the coming of the $2 multi-million project is a welcome move.
You have these developments at Newcant and the new cement plant that is to be commissioned by His Excellency Edgar Chagwa Lungu. These are at the back door of Ndola, in very close proximity. So obviously there will be a trickle-down effect. and as a business community that is at the forefront of encouraging investment by local as well as international investors, we feel that this is a very welcome and timely development.
President Lungu will wrap up the day in Mufulira with a groundbreaking ceremony for the Mufulira-Ndora Road, which was last worked on in the UNIP era. Paul Shadala, ZNBC News in Ndola.
This is the news at 19 hours on TV1. We take our first commercial break. We have more news after that. Stay with us. Welcome back. On our health segment tonight, Zambia's High Commissioner to India, Judith Kapijimpanga, says the exchange program between India and Zambia in the health sector will help reduce costs of accessing quality services. We have details after this. Minister of Health Chitalu Chilufya says government has no intentions to legalize the cultivation of marijuana in the country. Delivering a ministerial statement to Parliament this afternoon, Dr. Chilufya said there is no proven record that marijuana is safe. He says the legalization of marijuana has potential to destroy the moral and social fabric of the country. Dr. Chilufya says his ministry is not giving out any licenses on the cultivation of marijuana.
Should we take the risk of wanton cultivation of marijuana with the drastic negative potential it may bring to our nation? Allowing cultivation of cannabis simply increases its availability and therefore its acceptability, which creates a public health concern. At the current moment, it is the studied view of the Minister of Health that the licensing of marijuana cultivation, whether for medicinal or other purposes, cures no ill and potentially entails disaster. For the sake of clarity, Madam Speaker, at this moment in time, the Minister of Health has no intention of giving out any license to allow for cultivation of marijuana.
Zambia's High Commissioner to India, Judith Kapijimpanga, says the exchange program between India and Zambia in the health sector will help reduce costs of accessing quality services. Ms. Kapijimpanga says the Zambian mission in India has decided to engage Indian medical doctors so that they can assist Zambians to have access to their facilities locally. She was speaking in an interview with ZNBC News after a tour of Levy Teaching Hospital and Chainama Hills College in Lusaka today with medical doctors from Yashoda hospitals in India.
They have taken keen interest in Zambia's health sector. This is a team of medical doctors from Yashoda hospitals in India on a visit to Zambia, led by Zambia's High Commissioner to that country, Judith Kapijimpanga. They want to have an exchange program that will benefit those in need of medical attention.
Yashoda from the outset did express that they were not very keen to have patients being referred from Zambia to India. They would like to partner with Zambia in terms of establishment of Yashoda group of hospitals here in the country. But before they do that, they felt it would be prudent to train a cadre, a group of cadres from the medical fraternity who would support them when they eventually come and set up camp here.
They have visited Levy Teaching Hospital in Lusaka, and Medical Superintendent Laston Chikoya was at hand to explain the operations of the health institution.
With this visit, we see that the cooperations, once these are done through government processes, then we can be able to cooperate with our colleagues in India, not only in terms of training, but also in terms of patient care. We have telemedicine facility here. We can do consultations between their hospital and our hospital so that patient care is also enhanced. So we welcome the visit. We congratulate our High Commissioner to India that this is how it should be done.
Yashoda hospitals have pledged support to help improve Zambia's health sector.
With the support of the government of Zambia, we think that Yashoda Hospital of Hyderabad, that is India, that we can have a positive collaboration here. Firstly, in terms of training the manpower. By manpower, I mean doctors, the paramedical staff, the nursing staff. Some of them whom the government nominates can come and undergo training back in India from the hospital. I am accompanied by some of my senior doctors too. So they will be very happy to impart that sort of training, so that our aim is to improve the healthcare system here.
After visiting Levy Teaching Hospital, the medical doctors took time to also visit Tainama Hills College Hospital. Ministry of Health Assistant Director Clinical Care Daniel Makawa said there's need for exchange programs in skills training.
Once we start running, these opportunities go beyond just training for in-service, but even those that can support the training on an exchange basis, it would come a long way.
Patricia Banda, ZNBC News, Lusaka.
Well, that's it. That's all we could accommodate on our health segment for tonight. Join us next week for more.
You're back from the clinic. At least we didn't go to the clinic. I bought medicine from the market. From the market? Yes, a licensed pharmacy or drugstore. How would I know? Last time I had a very bad cough, I went to that same woman. She's quite cheap and helpful. Cheap is dangerous. It must be licensed. The pharmacy must be licensed by ZAMRA.
Medicines are useful. However, they can also be harmful and even fatal if not procured from licensed outlets where the personnel dispensing medication may be unqualified, where dispensed dosage may be incorrect for the patient, where incorrect medicine or in some cases expired medication may be prescribed for the patient's condition, where storage of medication may not comply with prescribed standards by ZAMRA. ZAMRA recommends that you buy all your medicines from licensed outlets which comply with the standards set by the authority in terms of storage of the medication and manning of the outlets by qualified personnel. It is also mandatory for all pharmacies to obtain a license from ZAMRA before commencing their operations. Those running illegal stores must be reported to the Zambia Medicines Regulatory Authority.
Contact us on 0211-220-429 or telefax on 0211-238-458 or email us at pharmacy@zamra.co.zm or visit our website at www.zamra.co.zm. Or you can visit our office along Tuleteka Road off Makishi Road. This message is brought to you by the Zambia Medicines Regulatory Authority, ZAMRA, regulating medicines for public health protection.
You're still watching the news at 19 hours. We take our second commercial break. We have the rest of the news after that. Welcome back. In our education news tonight, the Ministry of General Education says it will not grant study leave to primary school teachers who are not willing to upgrade themselves within the sector. I'll be back with the details right after this message. Details in our education news tonight. The Ministry of General Education says it will not grant study leave to primary school teachers who are not willing to upgrade themselves within the sector. Central Province Education Officer Jennifer Chishimba says this is because the trend is leaving a vacuum in the sector. Ms. Chishimba was speaking when she officiated at the donation by Basic Teachers Union of Zambia Betu's General Secretary Jeffrey Simuntala at Lukanga Primary School in Kabwe. Robert Mwanza has the details.
On purpose to motivate teachers to ensure they deliver quality education to pupils. Basic Teachers Union of Zambia, Betu's General Secretary Jeffrey Simuntala, led by Central Province Education Officer Jennifer Chishimba, are at this school to deliver these gifts to different schools as one way of motivating Betu's members. The donation of 2 motorbikes, a fridge and bales of sugar valued at 47,000 kwacha have been given to over 16 schools in Central Province, with the rest of schools expected to also receive soon. Mr. Simuntala explains the motive behind the donation.
Enable our district leaders to begin visiting our teachers to share with them the many challenges they are having and do a bit of explanation when it comes to various issues affecting our teachers.
And Mrs. Chishimba says government will not grant study leave to primary school teachers that are not willing to upgrade themselves within the sector.
I would want to encourage you as people that are coming from this background to remain within this same sector. If you are a primary certificate holder, ladies and gentlemen, let us upgrade ourselves within the primary sector.
Meanwhile, the beneficiaries of the donation, represented by Joseph Chanda, Kawe District Education Standards Officer, thanked Betus for the gesture.
We hope and believe that the same gesture
will be extended to other districts within our province, and not only these that have received these donations today.
Earlier, Mr. Simuntala paid a courtesy call on Central Province Permanent Secretary Kabwe Chanda and shared notes on various issues affecting teachers. Both Mr. Chanda and Mr. Simuntala strongly condemned arson cases that the country has recently witnessed.
The people who are doing this are cursed, and it's our prayer that God deals with them, and also that our security wings pull up their success to ensure that these people are brought to book. This is Zambian, and we can't condone this.
We are equally saddened. I think we are definitely going to support you with the recent happenings. We are not happy because we know that that adds on to the misery that our citizens are going through.
Robert Mwanza, ZNBC News in Kabwe, Central Province.
Well, that's it. That's our education news for tonight. Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation Director General Richard Mwanza has called for enhanced collaboration between ZNBC and the Angolan state broadcaster TPA. Mr. Mwanza is concerned with the levels of collaboration despite the two countries having a lot of things in common. Speaking when Angolan Embassy Press Attaché Alexandre Lucas Chilumba paid a courtesy call on him this morning, Mr. Mwanza said the state broadcaster can be used to disseminate information about each other to sway negative social media reports. He has observed that signing a memorandum of understanding, which is currently in draft form, will help enhance the collaboration. And Mr. Chilumba, who has been in Zambia for only 2 months, says an analysis by his office has revealed that there is less news on Angola being aired on ZNBC, adding that the same applies about Zambia on the Angolan state broadcaster. He has reiterated his commitment to strengthening ties between the two countries and the two institutions.
Angola is similar, and yet there is very little knowledge about our way of lives. We are the same Africa, same origins. There's also a lot in Angola which we can learn, especially from the public broadcaster. How we disseminate information to our citizens, the new technologies that are coming up, and also the threats which we are getting from the social media, how the social media is countering the public media. So these are some of the things that we can share. And in our sharing, we need to set up a memorandum of understanding so that we know what we are expected of each other. And this is very, very important.
Intend from the two people to strengthen our relations with the Zambian people.
Dos contactos que nós fizemos com as nossas entidades em Luanda,
from the contacts we have made with our Angolan authorities,
foi-nos informado que existe embrião, existe uma gênese, existe trabalho de base já feito.
Yes. We noticed that a basic plan or memorandum of understanding, I think, has started. There is a draft in place.
Well, as we end the news, here's a recap of the top stories. President Edgar Lungu assures the nation that the invocation of Article 31 of the Constitution to deal with the security situation is not aimed at harassing people or disrupting normal operations in the country. Constitutional lawyer John Sangwa says President Edgar Lungu has acted within the law by invoking Article 31 of the Constitution. Engineers from the Zambia Army and Lusaka City Council have moved on site at Lusaka City Market to assess the extent of the damage caused by the fire. And Minister of Health Chitalu Chilufya says government has no intentions of legalizing the cultivation of marijuana in the country. That's where we end the news. Thank you so much for watching. But remember, please join us for the edited version of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu's press briefing at 20 hours and a special analysis of the proclamation of Article 31 of the Republican Constitution at 21 hours tonight. Keep watching.